There are a lot of things in life that have accompanied us through childhood to adulthood and even maybe into the elderly life. One thing for me was Pokemon. I only started watching One Piece or reading One Piece a few years ago technically, but One Piece has been there since my childhood. So that's why I started thinking about what if the Straw Hats had Pokemon. Not if they are Pokemon or if they are in the world of Pokemon, just if the Pokemon were together with them on their journey through the Grand Line and everything. This is not about them going actually through the arcs and all of these things, this is just what Pokemon technically the Straw Hats would start out with and go on an adventure together with. Because there are a lot of Pokemon to choose from, and the Straw Hats, well, they have a wide variety as well. Maybe, let's say they get one starter Pokemon now, but they can also catch more in the future, obviously. But the starter Pokemon, their main partner, is the one I'm going to talk about today. Luffy is going to be our first one, because he obviously is the main character of One Piece, and so also of our videos. Luffy is a monkey, we all know that, but we also know that he has the rubber stretching ability, and he has the fire ability, and he has recently the ability that he got after dying. So my first thought was maybe Chimchar, which is a fire monkey from the 4th generation. According to the Pokédex, it is very agile, scales sheer cliffs to live atop craggy mountains, and it puts its fire out when it sleeps. This monkey it's just interesting in general, and when it evolves into Monferno and then finally into Infernape, it just gets crazier and crazier and fits more into Luffy's aesthetic of being a monkey on flames. The Pokédex entry for Infernape, for example, says it uses a special kind of martial arts involving all of its limb. Its fire never goes out. Or another one says its crown of fire is indicative of its fiery nature. It is beaten by none in terms of quickness. All of these things fit Luffy as well, but I think there is another Pokemon from the most recent game that fits Luffy a bit more, and that is Mankey. Mankey has been there since Gen 1, and Mankey is more known for its short temper, maybe getting taunted quicker and all of these things. Luffy is not really one to lose his temper because he saw Shanks accepting all of the things of the mountain to bandits, but I still think Mankey as the combat monkey fits a lot with Luffy. And that's not only because it's Mankey, and Primeape is also cool, but also because of the special evolution it got in Scarlet and Violet. Because in Scarlet and Violet, many Pokemon that were already existing in the previous generations got new things added on top of them, and Mankey is one of them. Mankey got the new Pokemon called Annihilate. Annihilate is a ghost fighting Pokemon, and it's the 3rd evolution of Mankey. Now, ghost fighting is already... What does that have to do with Luffy? Well, I think because Luffy had to die, technically, to get his new form, which was the Nika form, or the Gear 5 form, he got back from death. He was not so angry that he couldn't die, but he reached this point to awaken. And it is said that an Annihilate gets born when a primate's anger rises beyond a critical point. This Pokemon then gains power that is unfettered by the limits of his physical body. So technically, that's my idea. It's not that Luffy's anger rose to a critical point, but his health has gone to a critical point, and his freedom bursted out of him. His freedom reached a critical point, and then he reached something, a limit. He broke through his limits with his physical body, because now he has the most wonky, crazy power that can do anything. He's basically half ghost, if you want to think it. Yeah, like, he died. Luffy straight up died, so he's good to have the ghost part. He also has the fighting type, and Annihilate also obviously has some fire type attacks he can learn as well, so that just fits into it as well. Yeah, it has a few fire type attacks that it can learn, so that also fits into Luffy as well. Like Fire Punch, Overheat, all these things fit into Luffy as well. So I think Annihilate is the perfect Pokemon for Luffy in the late game, but first of all, he's going to start out with a Mankey. Then let's go to the second one. The second one that we joined was Zorro. Zorro is obviously a swordsman, so he slices things, and he needs a companion that also slices things. So my first idea was a Cypher, probably wearing an Eviolite to make it a bit more tanky. Cypher is, as you can see, it's like a bug Pokemon, which bugs are not necessarily Zorro's things, but this one has like these sharp claws and everything. And the Pokédex entry says, as Cypher fights more and more battles, its scythes become sharper and sharper. With a single slice, Cypher can fell a massive tree. So Cypher is just as battle hungry as Zorro, so it wants to battle more and more so that its scythe gets sharper and sharper. It is said that with a single slice it can fell a tree, but maybe at one point it can also slice through metal, iron, a diamond, and all these other things that Zorro is also going through. I think Cypher and Zorro would be good companions working together, side by side, or maybe Zorro giving him some commands. Maybe Cypher is actually not really a rival, but someone who looks up to Zorro. Like, Zorro wants to get stronger than Mihawk, but Cypher wants to go after Zorro and thus follows him. That's my first idea for Zorro, but another idea would be more a combination of two different Pokemon. It's Honedge and its evolution Doublade. Those are, well, it's one Ghost Sword and the evolution is two Ghost Swords. Together they would be three Ghost Swords, which obviously is a combination of Zorro using a free sword style. It's just, there's not much to say about these guys, it's just Zorro uses swords, so a Pokemon that is a literal sword would fit very well into the person. Even though the Pokédex entry is a bit problematic because it says that Honedge's soul once belonged to a person who was killed a long time ago by the sword that makes up Honedge's body. You could say it's similar to how Emma has a personality and all these things, but it also, a different thing is, the blue eye on the sword's handguard is the true body of the Honedge. With its old cloth, which is like on the end of the sword, it drains people's life force away. So this sword would be slowly killing Zorro, and this is not really a good factor, but it didn't seem to, like, this didn't seem to be a problem in the Pokemon anime to begin with. So like they just still used Honedge, and like the people still use ghost types, even if all of these ghost types are said to like kill children or other things, they are just still being used like normal. With Zorro out of the way, let's get to our next Pokemon and our next Straw Hat. Our next Straw Hat is Nami. She was the third one to join. We all know Nami as the money-hungry cat burglar. So what fits more than a cat that is all about money? So I chose Meowth as her first Pokemon technically, and then later on when she starts using the Climb Attack, there will be another Pokemon as well. But first let's talk about Meowth. Meowth has been a mascot of Pokemon since the very start because it was always there for Team Rocket. It's kind of the counterpart to Pikachu, and there is just a lot of things it can do. And it's said that it loves to collect shiny things, and if it's in a good mood, it might even let its trainer have a look at the horse of a treasure. So this Meowth knows a lot about money and shiny things. It would get along well with Nami, but both of them are very, not secretive, but like protective of their own money and treasure. So while they want to get treasure together, they both really are on the key part that they want to separate these treasures later down the line so that each of them get like 50-50, or Nami is going to make a better deal of like 70-30 because she's a human. But I feel like those two would get along. Nami probably wouldn't get to evolve her Meowth into a Snobilicat, but Meowth more than enough makes up for it because it's a decent Pokemon and it knows all about money. It can technically even talk in human tongue if it like is trained in it, so that very much would fit with Nami's personality, and Meowth is a trickster as well, so they would get along. The second Pokemon I want to say that Nami can get once she has her Climb Attack is actually Castform. Everybody knows Castform, but it is a bit of a special Pokemon. It has different forms depending on the weather. Just like Nami is like responsible for controlling weather, or like her power is basically weather control, Castform can transform into something called the Sunny Castform, the Rainy Castform, and the Snowy Castform. Kind of sad that Pokemon didn't continue that and gave it like a Sandstorm or a Sandy Castform, a Thundery Castform, maybe a different, I think there are different weather types that could happen and make Castform into different shapes, but we only got Sunny, Rainy, and Snowy. But it's still fun and fits very well with Nami's weather aesthetic. So I think Castform would be a perfect partner for Nami once she has all of these weather powers, but before that, Meowth is more her thing. And if we go into late game, once Nami has like Zeus and it's just like fighting against Yonkos, I think she would get two legendary Pokemon called Thunderous and Tornadus. As the name implies, they are like the gods technically who control wind and electricity. So let's just read these entries here. The Thunderous Pokédex entry says, this wielder of electricity has waged war with its nemesis Tornadus since time immemorial. The lightning bolts it hurls pierce the very earth and enrich the soil. So this Pokemon could also be used to enrich the earth, which like her tangerine trees or orange trees are growing on, so that very much would fit it. And Thunders and Tornadoes are like nemesi, so they wouldn't get along, but Nami is known for like controlling two people who don't get along or are known for making troubles. She can control Zorro, Luffy, and Sanji and all these other people as well. Even Jimbei thinks she might have conquered Saki with how strong she was in punching Luffy and these thunders coming out of her. So controlling two literal gods would be funny to see for Nami. Tornadoes, on the other hand, like his Pokédex entry is, this storm-stirring Pokemon is said to cause the seasons to turn by whipping up the air. There are other Pokemon that are like part of Tornadoes and Thunderous group as well, but they are not meant for Nami because Nami is for weather, and these guys control electricity and wind, and that's a perfect fit for Nami. It also can be combined very well with cast form, so I think these Pokemon would very well make Nami's team of 4 Pokemon at the end of the series. Now, our next candidate is obviously Sanji. Wait, no, I skipped the character because I don't like him. It's Usopp. Usopp was a bit more complicated because he's just a wimp who doesn't do bullshit. So I was looking at different articles that told me like what Pokemon the One Piece characters would have, and one of them said it was Seedot. Maybe Seedot because it's a weaker Pokemon that's also related to nature, like Usopp got the nature powers later on. Seedot is very weak at the start, but then it gets into Nuzleaf, which is a bit more respectable, and then it goes into Shiftry at its final form, and Shiftry is very strong. So I would say it's kind of right for Usopp, seeing how it starts out as a wimpy, weak thing and then gets stronger and stronger, just like him. But I think instead of Seedot, which this article was talking about, I have 2 other ideas that fit Usopp way better. My first idea was Shroodle from the newest Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Shroodle in itself is just a cute baby, and so it doesn't do much and fits into Usopp, like not doing much at the first part. But it also was interesting because Graphii, which is the evolution, is like, it has the prankster ability, which I thought fits into Usopp's character because he was a prankster at the very start, just doing like these things with just spicy attacks or getting these rubber bands out or all these other goofy things. So prankster was very nice for him. But Graphii is also, like the name would make you assume already, graffiti is part of the first part of the name. So Usopp is also known for being the artist on the crew. Like, they don't really have an artist. Like, Bellamy is currently trying to make the perfect flag and everything. But before Bellamy was working on that thing, Usopp was the person who designed the flag and did these other things. So I would say Usopp is the artist, which fits very well with Graphii being an artist as well. But this is not the perfect fit I wanted to talk about. The perfect fit for Usopp would be Sobble. Sobble is the water starter from Sword and Shield. It's like a crying water lizard, and it says that when this Pokemon is scared, it cries. It is said that its tears pack the chemical punch of 100 onions, and attackers won't be able to resist weeping. So Usopp somehow makes other people cry as well, just like we have seen him making people like Perona cry. So just like that works as well, but Sobble was my choice because Sobble evolves into Inteleon, and Inteleon has a Gigantamax form, which, if you don't know Pokemon, this sounds like a whole bunch of weird stuff, but Gigantamax was the special feature of Sword and Shield where Pokemon can grow gigantic. And Sobble's last form, Inteleon, as you can see in this picture, has a sniper rifle in this part. And Usopp is a sniper, so that was for me the perfect scenario. We have the wimpy little child that cries and just wants to run away and all these other things, but it grows up into this powerful sniper on the tower who can take down anyone with its sniper rifle. And that was why I thought this is Usopp's perfect match. Now we get to Sanji. I was a bit too fast in the first one, but Sanji, in my opinion, would have either Capsicid, which would evolve into Scovillain. These are these 2 Pokemon, because they are based on cooking, obviously. They are like peppers, like pepperonis, I think is the name. So these guys are grass and fire. They are perfect for cooking if you want to make some spicy stuff. It is also relevant because Sanji has these fire powers as well, so it makes like perfect mix for him to have the fire things as well. Then if Sanji uses fire and something else, it could boost the chlorophyll of Scovillain. So these 2, just one is a cute kid that Sanji would like race and then use some of the capsaicin to make spicy foods. Then it evolves and Scovillain is actually a fighting companion for Sanji. But these two are interesting in itself because Sanji would have the cooking element just like Arven had in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. But one other Pokemon, which is from the third generation, would also be a nice partner for Sanji. And that is Torchic, or its final evolution, Blaziken. Torchic is a fire chicken. Chickens are delicious, but we don't want to eat Torchic. But what I think is funny, because obviously the signature move of Blaziken is Blaze Kick. So it's very much fitting for Sanji because he has the Ifrit Jumbe or Diablo Jumbe, and he just ignites his leg on fire as well, just like Blaziken does. So those two would work together with both kicking their enemies with hot kicks. But that's the correlation I had for them, and that's all I want to do. Now Chopper. Chopper is the doctor of the crew. He's a child, so he still needs to grow up. So I wanted to do something equivalent for that in Pokemon terms as well. That's why as first companion I chose Happiny. Happiny is a baby Pokemon that is growing up into Chansey and then Blissey. Those two Pokemon are known for their healing abilities and are making sure that nobody gets hurt or treat people if they get hurt. So that very much aligns with Chopper's job in the crew, his role in the crew, who is a doctor. So I can see Chopper working well together with Happiny, teaching Happiny, like Chopper would treat Happiny like a little brother or child he has to raise as well. So he would learn, he would obviously get more adult-like in the process of taking care of this child as well, but he would also teach Happiny the things about doctor work and just health in itself, which would perfectly fit once Happiny evolves into Chansey, which would just be Chopper has his nurse helping him out and everything, so those two would make a good team when it comes to doctoring around. Then another idea was Deerling, or every deer-made Pokemon like Standler or Weirdeer and all these other Pokemon that are like based on deers. There are different forms as well, so like Winter form and Deerling would just be interesting because Chopper obviously he's a reindeer, not a deer in itself. But it just fits into Chopper because it would be interesting how he handles having a Pokemon that technically is just like him before eating his Devil Fruit. It's kind of weird because in itself, he is just like Deerling. I think those things could make up some existential crisis for Chopper. But I just think Deerling is a nice companion and we're not going to talk too much about that. Then let's go to Vivi. Vivi is the princess of the Alabasta Kingdom and she has a good companion called Karoo the Duck. Obviously that would mean a duck like Psyduck would fit maybe, but I thought my first choice would be Doduo. That's because I remember that in Pokemon Ranger you could ride on the Doduos as well, and they were like the method of transportation. So riding on Karoo, riding on Doduo, that would very much fit the bill. Maybe Doduo and Karoo could also have like some sort of rivalry because both of them want to be the riding part of Vivi's like fighting power, but they still would get along. They both can't really fly, but they want to fly, so I would assume that they could be a nice team. But Dodo is the first part. The next part would be Sandile, which is it's more of a joke part because technically something like an eagle for Pell or like a jackal for Chaka would also fit very well. But Sandile was the joke because Sandile is a crocodile, and that would mean that Vivi actually has crocodile as her Pokemon, which would be a nice thing because Sandile obviously lives in the deserts and everything, but then there's also the thing that Vivi suffered under a crocodile, so her taking care of a crocodile would be a funny coincidence, or just like she wants to be in control over the crocodile. Maybe it's some subconscious thing, but I just thought a crocodile would be an interesting choice. Now let's get into Robin before we talk too much about all these characters. Robin is the archaeologist, so I wanted to give her a ghost type Pokemon or an ancient Pokemon. The Paradox Pokemon from Scarlet and Violet are not really, I didn't think that one of them really fit into Robin's part. And the whole fossil Pokemons, while they are interesting, I thought Robin would be more interested into something else. That's why I chose Galarian Yamask. Not the normal Yamask, but the Galarian form. Just the normal form carries a mask of the person, like the face of the person it was before it died. And Galarian Yamask has this sort of rock it is carrying. I don't know what really this rock is in the Pokemon universe, but just think if a Galarian Yamask or a One Pieceian Yamask, if you all Blueian Yamask, West Blueian Yamask, I don't know what you would call it, this Pokemon was carrying a part of a Poneglyph. So it's very interesting for Robin to see how a Pokemon is carrying a Poneglyph around and how these Pokemon might be connected to the ancient civilization as well. Maybe they were used as carriers by the ancient civilization and the Poneglyphs were just the normal use of like messaging other people, and they just used the Yamas to carry them around from place to place. So Robin would study the Yamask and try to understand more of it until it finally evolves into Runerigus? That's the name. And this Pokemon just looks like it literally could be some sort of Poneglyph. This Pokemon could very well fit into the entire thing, and I thought it was a very nice fit for Robin. But considering her Devil Fruit power, which is the Hana no Mi, I also was thinking about some grass Pokemon. So my idea was Roserade, but then I thought, like, obviously I don't have final evolutions, but it's the first partners. So when Robin first got her Devil Fruit, she would also have gotten a Badoo, which is this Pokemon here. It's a very cute Pokemon, and obviously it revolves around roses and flowers, just like Robin's Devil Fruit, and hers taking care of this more, like, also anxious little child while she was also anxious. I think those two together would make a nice dynamic, especially when Robin was like just escaping from the Marines and the world government. Then when she joins Crocodile, it would eventually evolve into Roselia. But then the other thing I think would be it only evolves into Roserade once she has her I want to live moment at Enies lobby. That's when her Pokemon gets into its final evolution, and then she evolves in her final stage as well, technically. Because she really wants to be free, and she wants to live, and wants to be together with the Straw Hats and all these things. So that's the point where Roselia evolves into Roserade, and they just finally... Basically, this is the metaphor of saying that Robin starts to bloom and grow out of herself and be more open with everybody else. That's why I thought that one was fit. Now we get to Franky, who was a bit more complicated than everybody else. Just like Nami, I gave him a lot of different variations what he could pick on. So the first one was Iron, just because Franky is iron. This Pokemon is iron and grows stronger and stronger to build up like steel armor around his body. Just like Franky, who goes into his cyborg form and then his giant mech form and all these things. Just like him, Iron would grow as well to finally evolve into which Laren, and then finally into its final form Aggron. Those two would very much fit with our boy Franky, but I think Rotom would also fit him. According to the Pokédex, its electricity-like body can enter some kinds of machines and take control in order to make mischief. So Franky wouldn't even need people to pilot his machines, but he could use Rotom to power these machines in itself. Just like recently in One Piece we learned about these ancient machines that need some sort of power to move, Rotom would be that power source. So Franky would already have this ancient form of power source that can just go into machines and make them work for him. Just like Rotom normally goes into microwaves, washing machines, fans or fridges or maybe a lawnmower, Franky could make it go inside giant mechs, and then the force of the Straw Hats just gets stronger. A legendary Pokemon Franky could get later down the line would be Melton, or maybe Melton is a mythical Pokemon, I don't really care. But Melton, well, it is interesting because it just looks like these metal things, and that's the only part. Franky's idea for me was just everything that's metal or mechanical would very much fit his thing, which is also why after Melton and Melmetal, the last Pokemon I chose for Franky was Varoom and its evolution Reveroom. Those two are also from Scarlet and Violet, are just like a car engine, or literally a car, and I think just Franky's whole machine thing just makes it easy to pick machines or something else that fit into his like whole theme. Then before we go too off track with Franky's machine and just talking about he's going to build the best robot in the entire world, Franky already built Pluton, we all know that. Let's get to the next Straw Hat that joined, and that was Brook. Brook needs to have music related Pokemon. So first of all, I chose Grookey, the plant starter of Sword and Shield. This actually means that every starter from Sword and Shield will be in this video. I already talked about Sobble for Usopp, now Grookey for Brook, and then you have to wait and see who will have Score Bunny in the Straw Hat Pirates. Now Grookey in itself, well, it plays with its stick and makes a few music sounds here and there, but its final evolution, which is called Rillaboom, has another Gigantamax form where it literally plays the drums, which would make a very nice fit for Brook because he plays like the guitar or the violin or the pianos, but we have not seen him play the drums, so he would have a drummer in his crew already with Rillaboom, which would be just, we just need musicians on a crew. Brook would very much get along with Rillaboom or Grookey. Then my next idea for Brook was Duskull, just because he's a skeleton, so we pick him a skull. Yo ho 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 ho! Now, the Duskull is just there because he's a skeleton. That's the entire pun on it. And then the last Pokemon I chose for Brook would be a Kricketot, just because Kricketot and Kricketune are also Pokemon that are just known for their music sounds. I mean, Kricketune is a meme in itself. That's the sound that Kricketune makes. That's the sound Brook would love. And I feel like this is actually the alarm sound for all of the Straw Hats. So to get out of the bed, Kricketune would play its sound and everybody would just be annoyed one time. And Kricketune would get thrown out of the board. Brook would jump from the ship to rescue his Pokemon. Then Luffy would jump in to rescue Brook. Then Chopper would jump in to rescue them. And then everybody had to rescue the people who were like drowning because they're Devil Fruit users. And Kricketune as well, because they can't just kill a companion on a crew. But well, Kricketune still annoys the fuck out of them. Now let's get to technically the newest member of Straw Hat Pirates, and also technically the last one, I believe. It's Jimbei. Jimbei is a whale shark, so that's why I made Pokemon which are whales and sharks. First of all, it's Whalmer, it's a whale, very much fitting. Then we have Carvanha, which is only like a piranha, but it evolves into a shark. That fits into the topic of Jimbei being a whale shark. And finally I had Poliwag, which is just a small little poletat, and it evolves into a fighting frog, I believe that's what it is. Poliwrath is a fighting water Pokemon, which very much fits into Jimbei's thing, being of a master of Fishman Karate, so that could also be taught to his Pokemon. Whalmar, or Wailord in the end, is the whale, and Carvanha evolves into a shark, which would be Sharpedo. All of these three Pokemon fit very well into Jimbei's form, but I feel like there might be a better fit. If you are a fan of Pokemon and One Piece, what do you think is the perfect match for Jimbei? Please tell me in the comments. But for us, it's time to get to the first Pokemon that's for somebody who is not technically on the crew. She left after the Wano country, even though she was with them for a long time, and I'm talking about Carrot. Carrot's first Pokemon, in my opinion, would be Baniri. Baniri, or Lopunny for all of you down bad Pokemon fans, is just a bunny Pokemon, which is obviously the nice fit because Carrot is a bunny. That's the entire idea here, but Lopunny is also known for its fighting abilities, and Carrot is also not a weak fighter. So I feel like, because Baniri is also known for being like prone to danger and knowing when danger comes, looking around, being careful, it fits into Carrot's aesthetic of being a lookout, which I thought why these two would be a nice match for each other. And then we come to Scorbunny, which is the last of the three starters from Galar. And I thought this bunny, I just thought about bunny Pokemons, and I think this bunny also fits into the idea of Carrot's personality, because Scorbunny he's a bit of a devious kind of bunny. He would be very much like hide together with Carrot when she was a stowaway in the Straw Hat Pirates. Some people still to this point believe this Carrot maybe is a stowaway right now on Ekid Island. But that's not too important. I think just those two's energies align very well, and they would be up for some nice pranks. They would fight together from time to time and train together. Instead of like generating electricity like Carrot, Scorbunny generates fire. So maybe they can learn from each other, so that Scorbunny can learn how to somehow generate electricity, and Carrot somehow learns to generate, I don't know, maybe she can generate fire at some point. I mean, everybody in One Piece can somehow generate fire. And Scorbunny can actually learn an electric move called Electro Ball. So it would very much fit that Scorbunny somehow learns the Electro from the Minx and can use the Electro Ball in the end. Yes, as I thought, Carrot actually also has some sort of electro ball move. It's called Electrical Luna, where she generates a ball of electricity and then slams it into the ground. It's a bit different from Score Bunny probably kicking an electro ball, but it still very much fits the thing that Score Bunny got inspired by Carrot's electro ball move and then made it his own thing. But another like rodent, not really, it's more like a squirrel instead of a rabbit, but it still fits into our entire Carrot theme of her having rodents and other things. It would be Emolga or Pachirisu. I personally would prefer Emolga because I just like it more than Pachirisu, but it's not a bunny, it's a rodent, it's a squirrel, it can use electro like the minks, it is also flying around like, basically, it's flying around like Carrot can jump around a lot. It's a bit of a stretch here for Emolga, but I thought like this Pokemon would also fit into the team of Carrot as well, so I wanted to include it as well. Now let's come to the last person and the one which I probably gave the most variation in her team, and that's Yamato. The person we all wanted to be a Straw Hat at one point, but then we got shafted and she just didn't join after Wano arc. First of all, I wanted to give her a Vulpix. Not the Vulpix from Kanto though, it's the Vulpix from Alola, because that's an ice Pokemon, it's an ice fox type of Pokemon, which fits into Yamato's Devil Fruits, so I wanted her to start out with Alolan Vulpix, or maybe get Alolan Vulpix at the same time she eats her Devil Fruits. Another Pokemon I can see her start out with would be this one, it's Rockruff. Rockruff is more known for... it's just a good boy. Look at the good boy. Look at the good boy. Rockruff is the best of boys, and he's just a very friendly Pokemon. And once it grows up, it pretty much... I don't think it really resembles Yamato in its evolved form. Seeing how Rockruff or Alolan Vulpix and Alolan Ninetales as well, and then Lycanroc, all these Pokemon just would fit into the theme of the Devil Fruit being dog themed and ice themed, and together they would very much fit into their aesthetic. But another Pokemon I wanted to include in Yamato's team was Impidimp from Sword and Shield. This is, as you can see, it's more like a gremlin, but in its final evolution it actually is some sort of ogre. Just like Yamato is like a descendant of Kaido, who is said to be an ogre or something like that. So even though she wants to deny her connection to Kaido, she knows that she can't do that. She has the horns, she has the ogre genes, and having Grimmsnarl instead to align with the entire thing would fit into it right away. So maybe Kaido, when Yamato was growing up, gave her an Impidimp, because that's the Pokemon he uses as well. Kaido has a Grimmsnarl as well. But then Yamato doesn't really want to use it, because obviously she doesn't like using the same thing as her father. But Grimmsnarl also like gets Impidimp, and then more Grimm and Grimmsnarl just get closer and closer to Yamato, and it's not the same Grimmsnarl that Yamato's father uses. So she's fine with using it at one point. And to begin with, this Grimmsnarl is a fairy type, and fairy types are strong against dragon types, and this would mean that Yamato could very well use her Grimmsnarl in a fight against Kaido when the time actually comes. That's also why I included this other Pokemon here called Tinka-Tink. Tinka-Tink is from the latest game, and it is just a cute baby fairy steel Pokemon that uses like a club, a hammer at the end. And Yamato uses a club as well. Yamato is going after Kaido. I can see Yamato teaming up with her Tinka-Tink or Tinkaton at the end to fight against Kaido to bring him down, because fairies are stronger against dragons, as I said before. And she uses a hammer, Yamato uses a club. Those two have a nice synergy they can go, so that they have like a combination attack where they both swing their club or hammer at the enemy and just send them flying away, making an entire home run, hitting it right out to the park. But finally, the last Pokemon I see Yamato fit with is Suicune, which is a legendary Pokemon from the Johto region, and I just thought it is fitting as Yamato's role as the guardian deity of Wano, because it's said in the Pokédex that Suicune races around the world to purify fouled water, and then it dashes away with the North Wind. The North Wind part is not really that relevant, but the purifying fouled water is very relevant, because Kaido, obviously together with Orochi, was responsible for the entire demise of Wano country, making the country's water like foul in that way, and all these other things with the factories, weapon factories. And Yamato, after all of this is over, wants to purify the foul water together with Suicune. So I feel like As the guardian deity of Wano, she would be a very nice fit for Suicune as well. Maybe she could all of the dogs with Suicune, Entei, and Raikou, but let's not be too much into that because for now, Suicune is more than enough. Those other Pokemon I believe would be in the teams of the Straw Hat Pirates and the people that should have been in the Straw Hat Pirates. And now all that's left for me to be said is, do you think these Pokemon fit into their teams? Or would there be another Pokemon that you think fits better to any of these characters? I am maybe going to do more of these Pokemon videos in the future because I love Pokemon so much, but I'm not going to guarantee you anything. All that's left for me to be said is stay happy, stay healthy, and most importantly, stay cultured. See you in the next video. Bye!